It's the most horrifying time of the year, when the slashers are slashing and monsters are crunching your bones and you're in fear. It's the most harrowing time. Yes, the most horrifying time. The most terrifying time of the year. Not my best evil laugh, but we're keeping it. Yep, ladies and gentlemen, we are well into October, meaning this is Halloween period. Last year, I did want to incorporate holidays into my video themes, that way it would actually be more fun and engaging for you as the audience, but I didn't quite have everything down. So this year we are going to kick it off. I still don't think I have everything down, but hey, let's have some fun with it. Also, I did kinda miss the first 2 weeks of this month, meaning I have wasted 2 potential video weeks that I could have discussed 2 African horror films with you, but we'll try and make the best of this and probably spill a bit into November. And that said, I don't even think this video fits into the normal module of videos that I do have on this channel. But hey, we're here, I'm talking about it, let's roll. So, you remember Shumileta? Shumileta. I actually have just realized that I do not know exactly how to pronounce this name. Which should be considered kinda weird, considering this is a very nostalgic film for any East African kid that was alive during the early 2000s. Now, I realize I did say kids, but this isn't exactly a kids movie, this is a horror film. And so the teens to the adults who were alive during the early 2000s should remember this more than we do. But somehow, I believe that if you are a kid in the early 2000s and you actually saw this film, you remember it way more vividly than anybody else, because this used to be our nightmare fuel. I mean, that might come as a shock, considering if you watch this film right now, there is pretty much not too much shocking about it. Let's be real for a second. The script, not too much going on for it. The acting and line delivery,
kuja kushtuka namna hii pale ulipokuwa umekaa wewe nikamwona Shumileta.
Shumileta?
Ndio.
Kivipi?
Pale ulipokuwa umekaa wewe, mara katokea Shumileta. Wewe sikukuona.
could use a bit of a touch-up. The editing, very choppy. The audio mixing...
Hello?
Hello, Maki.
Nani mwenzangu?
Shumileta.
Shumileta?
My goodness. And the visual effects...
What?
Don't even get me started. Basically, according to modern standards, this film might not be that great. Well, as a horror at least. As a comedy, that's an entirely different story. But we're gonna get there. Allow me about a minute or so to focus on that initial point I had brought up. Nostalgia. For those who have no idea about the film, or it just feels like a millennia since you last saw it, the film chronicles the haunting of a young Tanzanian man, Mark, after showing some kindness and, in all honesty, a bit of sleaziness in giving the titular character Shumileta a lift upon crossing her on the road, who takes a liking to him and imprints herself upon him. Unbeknownst to Mark though, Shumileta is what the Swahili refer to as a genie, no Aladdin. Basically, a genie is a ghost or a demon of some kind, thus beginning the tormenting of Mark and his marital relationship. And this is as good as a synopsis you will ever get. Believe it or not, and I may very well be speaking out of my ass here, so if I am, feel free to correct me. For a minute there, this movie was the peak of African horror. Now, that's not to say that I was watching a lot of horror films as a kid. African or otherwise. But from time to time, especially back on TV or on VCR, we used to actually get Nollywood films which had a few folklore horror elements. A bit of witchcraft over here, a bit of demonic possession over there, a few curses or two, just enough to get that religious messaging in, you know, religion beats all evil. It was a huge plot point for a lot of Nollywood films at the time. And for a minute there, I actually thought that Shumileta was a Nollywood film. Well, until a bit into upper primary where I realized that Nigerians do not roll with Swahili like that. And full props to the Tanzanian film industry, because by my books, for the longest time they had the scariest horror film to ever come out of our continent. And it's not my aim to act like I was a tough kid to scare, because, well, I was a kid. But I guess, and this is just in hindsight, it might have been that this movie was so localized that the fear was struck right into my bones. To see the Queen of the Devils, which was Shumileta's Monica, in my skin color, walking in streets much like mine, speaking my language, was just quite horrifying. More than ever, more than any other horror film that I had managed to sneak a peek of, none had ever terrified me as much as Shumileta. None actually had given me such nightmares as Shumileta. Amongst all the stiff acting and the very, very weird effects, it felt so plausible, simply because it was within my realm, within the little world that I knew. And that scared the ever-living crap out of me. Now, usually when I do these film discussions, reviews, retrospectives, I mostly do my research on these films. I need to know the directors, the film actors, the circumstances around the production. However, with this film, I could find absolutely nothing. All I could get was a copy of the film on YouTube, but seemingly all other traces of this film online are non-existent. You can't find a single thing about this film, no information, nothing. And I almost gotta say that is more creepy than the film itself, being, well, a film reviewer at this time and age. Heck, I even tried to trace it back to its production company and try to work backwards from there, but still very unfruitful. So all I have for you in this portion of the video, where I usually tell you all about the filmmaking process, is the casting, which was pretty much led by the star playing our titular character Shumileta, the stunning Janeti Moipaja, the poor soul who was tormented and haunted throughout this entire film's runtime, Mark, played by Evans Moshi, Monte, played by Jennifer Kiaka, Mark Mdogo, played by Jabir Yusufu, and starring other names such as Mariam Shaha, Faida Musangi, Hamis Bakari, Fatma Faraji, Hamad Hassan, Crispin Siriwa, Kina Luanda, and B. Sagara. I am also led to believe that this film was helmed by Ari Makumbea. Now, if it's a role such as a director or a producer, I am not too sure. All this comes from a note saying that this film is an Ali Makumbea film. So earlier I said that this movie is flawed, verily flawed. However, I did mention that as much as it doesn't work as a horror today, it still might work as a comedy, because I have rewatched this movie in preparation for this video, and I have to say this was the funniest movie I have watched in a while. Now, some may find that statement to be absolutely rude and crude, because why would you be laughing at the production of somebody who was actually trying to make their own different piece of art? And to that I say, that is exactly what it is, a piece of art. When you create a piece of art, you cannot control the interpretations that your viewers will have on it. That's just beyond your control as an artist. As an artist, the best you can do is create the art that you wish to create and be proud of it in whatever form it exists in, or not be proud of it if it did not exist in the form that you did not want it to. But the interpretation of the viewers upon your art is completely reliant on them. And I have to say that viewing this as a comedic type film right now in this particular era should not be considered an insult, but should be considered a praise of sorts, because this actually gives this film some staying power. And if you view this film on YouTube, you will actually see that this film has a lot of staying power. There are comments as soon as 2024. People are still watching this film. For whatever reason they are, people are still coming back to this film, with the film itself garnering over, get this, 12 million views. And I believe I do not have to spell this out for you, but that is a lot. Now for me, this will forever be a nostalgic piece of art. I may no longer feel the same way I felt about it as a kid, and I may no longer feel the same way I feel about it today, later in the future. But I can most definitely say that this film has had an impact on many others and on me personally. And though it may not be the case right now, Shumileta will still always be that film that I will remember as once being so terrifying. Thank you for watching this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and hey, stick around because there's more like this just for your enjoyment, like this one right here on your screen, just for you. It has been your soon to be favorite Uncle Omari, and I simply cannot wait to see you all in the next one.